Today the workshop on data management tools for archaeologists with Paolo Ronzino, Hella Hollander and Peter Doorn. We have quite some participants and we would like to introduce you to the program of today. So maybe next slide. So we start with a brief introduction on ARIADNEplus by Hella Hollander, and then with two presentations, one on the protocol for archaeology data management and Science Europe guidelines by Peter Doorn, and one on the ARIADNEplus data management plan, template and tool by Paolo Ronzino. And thereafter, everyone has half an hour to try out the tools and to post questions in the breakout rooms. So that will be the second part of the workshop. And then when we return to the plenary room, there is room for feedback also. The speakers will provide you with some next steps. I think it is the first speaker of today is Hella Hollander, and she will provide an introduction to the ARIADNEplus project. She is currently the data station manager archaeology at DANS and has a research background in archaeology and received her master at Leiden University. She has been working for DANS since 2010 and is an expert in sustained access and reuse of digital research data, especially archaeology data, of course. And Hella is a project manager of various infrastructures, projects, and other co-creations. But today, as mentioned, she will provide a brief introduction on the ARIADNEplus project. Hella, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ellen. So I will start my project overview of ARIADNE. So ARIADNE is a project of the Horizon 2020 rounds, and ARIADNEplus project started in 2019, and this is the last year of this project now. It's a follow-up project of the first ARIADNE project, which was between 2013 and 2016. ARIADNE stands for Advanced Research Infrastructure for Archaeological Data Set Networking in Europe. And in its registry, there are almost 2 million data sets and still growing. More than 40 organizations from Europe, even the US and Japan are participating. And it's supporting a wide research community. And so it's not only about data sets, but also about connecting research infrastructures with each other across Europe. So ARIADNEplus is a follow-up project, and it's building on the great results achieved in the first project. And it's providing support to researchers, archaeological organizations, cultural heritage specialists, policymakers, and other users. What you see here is the first entrance if you search for the portal. And you can browse the portal where, when, and what. So you can search for a certain time period or a place, or even a subject of the Getty thesaurus, which is connecting the national vocabularies, for instance, the vocabulary of the Netherlands with the vocabulary of England. So when you search, you can cross-search the whole database and all the data sets and find the specific search. Next slide. So what I did to prepare this meeting is I searched for Neanderthal. I thought it's maybe a nice, it would give a nice image. And what you see here is where the data sets which match with this search are placed on the map. And you can see when they range in this timeline. And of course, this is the Paleolithicum. What you see on the right is the first set of hits more specified. And when I took a closer look to it, it was even showing a data set of DANS, showing a model which is about how the Neanderthal population possibly got extinct. But you also can see data sets from Spain or York in England, the ADS, from Senia in Spain. And you can see at the symbol, you can see it's about a monument or it's about a field archive. And what you can also see is the Cortras seal sign when it's coming from a trusted repository. So once you selected a specific data set of your interest, you can click on it and you will go to the repository, which is for instance DANS or the ADS or CNIA, and then you can download the data set there. So this is how it works. Just to show it to you, and I advise you or I invite you, I must say, to take a look at it and see what you can find there. Next slide. So DANS is Data Archiving Network Services. We are a partner in this project. And DANS embeds the national repository for Dutch archaeology. We have one of the largest collections of archaeological data sets in the world, over 100,000 data sets. And DANS is an institute of the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences and the Dutch Research Council. And you can see here, we are in the transition period from EASY, which many of you might know. That's our online archiving system. And we now are about to launch the Data Station Archaeology, our new online infrastructure. Next slide, please. So within ARIADNE and ARIADNEplus, PIN is the coordinator of the project, and they support the activities on data aggregation and ontologies, work on the ontologies. And DANS is work package leader on policies and good practices for fair data management. So fair data is data of high quality, including the subject of today, which you will hear from Peter and Paola later on. And we share our expertise on sustainable access of high quality data in a trusted archive. And we ensure that all the data of the Netherlands is also visible internationally via the ARIADNE portal. Next slides. And I will hand over my presentation to Peter now.
Yeah, so Peter, you will share your insights on data management protocol created by the ARIADNEplus project and taking Science Europe and Horizon 2020 into account. Peter is the former director and currently advisor and researcher at DANS, and he studied human geography at Utrecht University and received his PhD there, and was principal investigator of the DARIA preparation project and board member of several organizations in the area of humanities computing, data infrastructure, and digital archiving. So, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, Ellen. To start with a little bit of the context in which we are doing this work on data management. And that all has to do with the ideas that in which the European Commission actually is playing a large role, but also all kinds of other organizations across Europe. And that is that science should be as open as possible. And that entails a whole variety of things. And of course, we are not going into all the details that you see here depicted in all those little cartoons. It is about open access, about open data, about open education, about citizen science, and you name it. But we're focusing here today on open and also fair data. Increasingly, the funders of research, but also the institutions, universities, research institutes, and you name it, are requiring researchers, including archaeologists, to write a data management plan in order to guarantee that their data will be shared, or at least that it will be clear how it will be shared, if it will be shared, and that it will be as fair as possible. The Horizon 2020 program of the European Commission started with formulating requirements for that. Here you see in this slide the main elements. It should be, of course, a kind of a summary about the data. They should comply with the so-called fair data principles. I'm not going into the details of those, assuming that you have some knowledge about that. If not, it suffices for today that it is about findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data. That is where the FAIR letters stand for. About which resources you have for managing your data, about how securely it is stored and remains stored, and also about ethical aspects. All these are just the main categories. About each of these categories, there is requirements that researchers should provide answers to how they are going to do that. And one of the dangers, and if you ask me, also something that I often hear by researchers, oops, this is just another hoop that we have to jump through. And those data management requirements, isn't it just a paper tiger? Isn't it a lot of red tape that you get tangled into? And then even to make things worse, different funders often require different things of researchers to do concerning data management. And that is really problematic. But this is also why Science Europe, which is the organization of the big national funding organizations and research performing organizations in Europe, started working on this to make it actually more simple, to harmonize the research data management requirements across different funders, and also to provide an approach in which research data management should focus more on the needs of the different disciplines. And they produced a number of reports on that, giving recommendations and guidance. Now, the Horizon 2020 project is now finished, and now a new round of funding in Europe, Horizon Europe, has started. And although we expected that Horizon Europe was going to follow the Science Europe harmonized core requirements, it appeared in practice that there were still differences, unfortunately. You see here on the left-hand side the main categories of requirements that Science Europe formulated, and on the right-hand side, the Horizon Europe requirements. And if you have a glance at them, then you see that they are more or less similar, but there is also, unfortunately, differences in the wording, in the phrasing, in the order of things, in the way things are grouped, etc. And this is just unfortunate also when we are for the work that we are presenting today. Because what we intended to do is to make a simple, let us say, standard data management plan applicable for the majority of archaeological projects in the form of a protocol. The protocol contains statements about what the data management should look like, and it offers the researcher the possibility to simply comply with those statements. But of course, you can never enforce these things. There may be good reasons to deviate from any standard. And therefore, the idea was that the elaboration or the non-compliance was explained in the data management plan. But we started working for the protocol from the Science Europe guidelines, and the data management plan started from the point of view of the Horizon 2020 and later Horizon Europe data management plan. And it simply wasn't possible to make a complete mapping there. And there you see what happens, unfortunately, if ultimately research funders do not agree exactly on what to require of researchers. Still, we hope that we have created useful tools with as much integration as is possible. The idea of the protocol is starting from the Science Europe core requirements, and you see here on the left-hand side, the first one, how will new data be collected or produced, and or how will existing data be reused, for which they give a couple of guidelines and also a couple of criteria on how that should be assessed by funders. We gave on this a standard reply that you could use in this protocol. And here you see how it works. So there is 6 steps in the protocol corresponding to the 6 core requirements of Science Europe. Every step has 1 or more questions or topics per step. The protocol is normative in that it contains standard replies. So for this first question, you see how will new data be collected or produced, and or how will existing data I just read before. And then it says the research team has checked whether previous data on the subject of the research exists, etc., etc. It gives there a standard reply with which you can comply, or if you don't, in this case, you would have to give an additional description. This description is then not what we originally intended in the data management plan, but in the protocol itself to solve these non-compliance, the possible non-compliance. In a couple of cases, you don't have another option than to comply. Don't comply is not optional. This has simply to do with all kinds of legal requirements. We provide guidance on every topic, and the guidance is the same for the protocol, but also for the next tool for making a data management plan that Paula is going to demonstrate. And of course, when you're using this tool for the protocol, you have the option to save your results halfway and to load them again to continue. The guidance document we wrote is tailored to good practices in archaeology and in good data management. It contains a lot of further references to online resources. One guidance document both for the protocol and for the data management plan tools. It has direct links from the tools we have to the guidance, but you can also browse and download the whole guidance document as a PDF as a kind of a booklet for your own use, even as an educational tool. When you finish the protocol, you submit, but the submission, you don't submit it actually to another organization, you just keep it for yourself. It creates a zip file containing the filled out protocol in various formats, among which a PDF. This is very briefly how it works. And in the breakout room after Paula, I hope to demonstrate it in practice, or actually I would like to invite you to use it in practice, and at least to see whether you can answer a couple of the topics and whether you think you could comply with the standard replies in the protocol. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, before we go into breakouts, Paula will tell a bit more about the other tools that you can find in the ARIADNEplus services page. And Paula is a researcher in ICT applied to cultural heritage with a PhD in science and technologies for cultural heritage and a degree in archaeology. And her research concerns the development of ontologies and metadata schemas for archaeological and architectural heritage documentation, but with particular interest on the documentation of the buildings archaeology. She has been part of the team working on the release of the DMP template for Parthenos and the Ariadne project, but is currently project manager of the ARIADNEplus and for cultural heritage projects. Please go ahead, Paula, what you would like to share with us.
Many thanks, Ellen. And thank you very much also, Peter, for giving this broad overview of the work that we have done. Today, I'm going to present you the data management plan package developed in the framework of the ARIADNEplus project. Next, please. So the package is composed by an online tool which allows to handle and to complete the 3 templates Peter and I have been working on, trying to align and harmonize the various requirements, and that are supported by the guidances specifically designed to address the discipline-specific topics that archaeologists face in their daily work. So the templates that ARIADNEplus offers to users are the protocol for the archaeological management, data management, which has been already presented by Peter, the ARIADNEplus DMP researcher template for archaeological datasets, of which I'll give you a quick overview in the next slides, and the new template of the European Commission, which we have specifically tailored for the management of the archaeological datasets, and that some of you will be testing in the breakout session after my presentation. Next, please. So the DMP tool is part of a suite of services offered by ARIADNEplus, and it is accessible from the services page of the ARIADNE portal under the category web service. There you can find a short description of the tool and the link to the landing page. Next. So from this page, then you can access the 3 templates based on your needs. Next. Now I would like to briefly introduce the ARIADNEplus DMP researcher template for archaeological datasets. The template builds on the work done in the Parthenos project, that was a cluster of European research infrastructure about linguistic studies, humanities, cultural heritage, history, and archaeology, which released a data management plan template that was extensively tested by the archaeological community. Indeed, to gather the specifications it builds upon, representative of the Parthenos archaeological communities, which were represented also from the ARIADNE community, were asked to describe their daily data management procedure in details through a questionnaire that was structured according to the various phases of the data life cycle. The survey was then extended to other experts of the domain, which provided a comprehensive framework of the standards and best practices for creating, storing, and sharing data used by the archaeological community. With the ARIADNEplus project, the DMP template has been improved to comply with the requirements of the funding institutions, including for almost all statements. The guides harmonized with the core requirements of the Science Europe, which have been already presented by Peter. So besides being compliant with the Horizon 2020 template, the ARIADNE DMP template indeed adds a useful support in the compilation of the document, thanks to this guidance and the cross-reference that can be found within. And it is specifically aimed at researchers and institutions that still don't have any written policy on how to write a clear document that explains how data will be created, how it will be managed, and what are their plans for sharing and preserving their data. Next, please. So the DMP template structure of the ARIADNE template follows the same structure of the Horizon 2020 guidelines. It includes a set of questions that are organized in these sections which have been already introduced. It satisfies both the needs of researchers that manage the institutional repositories with a section specifically tailored for them, and also for researchers because they are both data producers and data users, each having a specific perspective on data quality and fairness issues. So all sections indeed include the questions aimed at the researchers, while section 4 on data security mostly addresses data managers and repository managers, as it concerns detail on data recovery as well as secure storage and transfer of sensitive data, which information that usually researchers are not necessarily informed of. Next, please. moving to the Horizon Europe template for archaeological datasets. This is structured based on the Horizon Europe template, which is very similar to the previous template of the Horizon 2020. The only exception in this template is that it has a section for planning the management of other research outputs, which could be workflows, protocols, or software that can be generated within the project or reused throughout the project. Similarly to the previous presented templates, the template is supported by the guidances that suggest answers to the archaeologist, and also links to the harmonized guide for the archaeological data management planning that can be consulted for both templates and also for the protocol. And you can have access to this to the whole document, which is available from the Training Hub section of the ARIADNEplus website. Next, please. So, again, stressing on which is the added value of these templates, we want to remark that guidelines provided to support the completion of the questions and mostly the suggested answer are for us the added value of these templates. The need for support in the compilation of a data management plan was strongly expressed by a group of experts that responded to a survey that was carried out a few years ago by the research data management team of the Open Air project and the Fair Data expert group. Which they were collecting feedback for evaluating the Horizon 2020 approach to the data management plan. So to identify gaps and collect suggestions for improvement. These needs has been also confirmed by the extended community of the ARIADNEplus and also the other experts that are part of the SIADA community, to which we submitted the data management template and the tool, asking for their comments and validation. And today we really want to get also your feedback both on the content of the guidances and also on how the tool works. Next, please. So just a few things about the data management plan tool itself. The tool is an online tool which has been developed by PIN. Probably my colleague Cinzia is also attending this meeting. And it is accessible, as was already said, from the services page of the Ariadne portal. Something that it's important to know, and it was stressed also, we don't collect personal data, neither we store it. So when you submit your template, you will just get a zipped folder which will be downloaded in your computer, and where you will find a PDF version of the document that has been filled in, and also a JSON template file, which is important because allows you to work on several versions of the document. So either you haven't finished to do it, or if you think you have completed but you want to see it again, you can upload the JSON file on a tool, and then you can rework and save it again. Soon we will release also in this package the HTML file when you download the template, as it will provide you the opportunity also to copy paste the information in case you want to have your own template. So the HTML allows you to keep the formatting regardless of the editor that you are using. Next, please. So now a short demo will follow, which I prepared to get you familiarized with how the tool works. I can anticipate it is a very easy, user-friendly tool. You will probably hear again some of the information we have already provided, but since it will be a standalone resource also to be found in the web page, in the resources area of the ARIADNEplus website, it's good to hear again. So I Please, Peter, if you can play. The ARIADNEplus Data Management Plan tool is part of the Ariadne suite of services, and it is accessible from the services page of its portal. The tool is listed under the category Web Services. From the link, you are redirected to the main page from which you can access the 3 modules. Let us select the Horizon Europe template for archaeological datasets. The online interface has been designed to facilitate the compilation of the data management plan through the use of intuitive and user-friendly solutions. The questions that the user is invited to answer are divided into successive pages with a common progress bar that is the main reference point, indicating approximately the time required to complete all sections. Each page groups similar thematic questions, which are enriched by links to the related points of the Guide for Archaeological Data Management Planning. The boxes on the top left corner show you the possibility you have to save your work or to upload a file to continue editing. We will get to this step later on. Let's start with the compilation of the data management plan. In cases when a yes/no answer is requested, the user has also the opportunity to express if he doesn't know how to answer. The box here you can express your choice allows further specifying the reasons for the selected answer. If yes is selected, then a further question will be shown. In this case, if I reply yes to the question, will you reuse any existing data and what will you reuse it for? Then another question will appear. What will you reuse it for? Other questions request a free answer. For uninitiated users, guidances are provided for almost all questions by referring to the related points explained in the Guide for Archaeological Data Management Planning, where links to other external resources are also provided. All links are open in other tabs, so you do not lose the page you are working on. The free text box have no words limit, so you can list all the datasets you are going to describe in your data management plan. If you scroll down at the bottom of the page, you have the next button, which will bring you in the following page. Once you have familiarized with the template, you can also use the progress bar to move from one section to another. Now I will show you a question where a list of items is suggested for answering the question. The question is about metadata schema. By selecting the yes answer, another box opens, giving you the possibility to select your preferred answer or multiple answers. If no one of the suggested options is suitable for you, then you can enter your own answer. In other cases, also the no answer opens up a new box where you can add further clarification. In cases like this one, where a complex question with the specific topics is addressed, we can rely on the support of specific guidances. The procedure is more or less the same you will follow to finalize the document, and it can be applied to the 3 templates. Each template can be completed independently and saved as a single document. At the end, before leaving the page, you can add a date and a version number. Either you have completed to fill the template in, or you just want to save a draft, you click on the Submit button. You will be asked if you really want to submit it, and in a positive case, when you submit, a zip folder is downloaded on your computer. The folder contains your draft or your complete form, either in PDF format, which you can use as is, and a JSON file, which you will be using in case you want to continue working on your document. For example, you can load the file, send, and your previously filled in template appears. Thank you. Okay, Helen.
Yes. Okay. So thank you for that. Also for the video, because I think it's a very relaxed way of showing us around, and I could really follow every step you took. It's impressive how many guidance there's collected in this overall website. And we now have some time, maybe if there's I didn't see any questions pop up in the chat, but if you still have questions, please share them with us.